Okay. So before we start, I think we're going to choose a card of the day. So yeah, I always like to do that. So yesterday, Venus went direct. So it's something to do with relationships, and it doesn't necessarily mean to sexual relationships. It's relationships in general. When Venus was retrograde, it was like we were going back to things, like even relationships with family and things like that, and seeing like what didn't work, what do we need to let go of. So now it's going forward. There's almost like it's like about connecting again, if we need to, or letting go if we need to. But there's almost like a little bit of more positivity to do with broken relationships, whether you're finally setting it free and you're going, okay, it doesn't matter, or you're going, okay, this can be fixed. So here we go. This is our card for today. I've not looked at it yet. Don't know what it is. Let's see. It says, distract yourself with a creative pursuit and the inspiration you seek will find you. There you go. So you can distract yourself by listening to me this afternoon. So stress and anxiety, it's never nice really, is it? But nowadays, teens, this is something that's prevalent in society in general, really, but especially teens. They've got so much pressure on them. I've been studying over lockdown. I've done quite a lot of courses, and one of the courses, as well as the neuroscience of trauma, becoming a Ayurvedic health specialist, a moonologist, a yin yoga teacher, advanced tantric yoga teacher. Also, I studied with Yale University, the science of happiness, and I would really recommend it. It's a free course. So it's through Coursera. So if you type in Coursera, Yale University are doing some free courses. And I think if you're a yoga teacher, studying the science of happiness, and also in a sense, I did it because we're stuck in this like, bleh, and it was, I think if you study the science of happiness, it helps yourself. And if you can hold your own space, you can hold other space better. So having an understanding. So some of the stuff that they were saying, I was like, I already do that. Oh, that's good. A bit like they found that buying things, it doesn't give you long-term happiness. So I think we all know that, buying a new car, oh, does that make you happy? Well, it's not necessarily buying a new car. It's the happiness you have after the occasions. You have the build up of buying something. Oh, I'll be happy if I buy this, or buy myself a new this. And then it's the way you feel afterwards. So they did all these scientific tests, and what they discovered that instead of buying something, buying an experience, like a holiday or something, the happiness you feel afterwards lasts so much longer, but you also have the memories. And by going back to the memory in your head, you're creating happiness. So my children have always gone, oh, for God's sake, because they're both January babies. So you have Christmas, and they get their presents and all that. January, I go, oh, we're having experience. We're going to go and do something together. Like, oh, do we have to? No, my oldest loves it, but my youngest is like, can you not just give me something? I don't want to spend time with you. But it's so that we can go back and remember. So like experience brings you happiness. So this is a good thing to remember. Another thing is like the science of it was remembering that, so you would think that if you had, so they did like tests before and after, and what you think you perceive the happiness is going to be, and then they do what the actual happiness is. And watching a program or a movie, you perceive that if you took all the adverts out of it, that you would find it so much happier, but you would be so much happier with it. But it's actually been proven that with ads in the middle, where you stop and you've got to wait for the next bit, the happiness is prolonged. So this is the same with with life and with, you know, like doing, like, so it's a bit like if you get, you know, Christmas time in, is it Starbucks or Costa, they only give you gingerbread lattes then. If you got a gingerbread latte every day, it wouldn't be so exciting and nice, because you were like, oh, yeah, I'll just have a gingerbread latte. But go, oh, it's Christmas time, I have a gingerbread latte. So if you apply that to teaching your classes, so that's why I pop in, oh, this week we'll do, you know, do a sequence, but I'll pop in a wee forearm balancing thing. Oh, today we're going to do some forearm balancing, or today we're going to do a bit of wall work. So I'm going to post, I've got some little videos that I did, and that I did for the kids training that you'll see. But the way I teach these little sequences or segments, I would do the same with my teens as well, and probably with some of my adults as well. It's just the way you teach that set of these set of asanas. So by popping them in, as if you did them every week, there'd be some people going, oh no, not that again. There'd be some going, oh yeah, but then the yay would stop. So it's the same with, oh, today we're going to do partner work. Oh, because I remember being at school and being really shy and being forced to do Scottish country dancing. And because I was so shy, and they'd always go, right, the girls can choose for a change. I was like, oh no. So I ended up like, it was just awful that if I go to a yoga class and they go, oh, like today we're going to have fun and going to do partner work. Oh, I'm triggered by that. I think, oh no. And I have done, and I've been there, and I've had, so be aware of the teens are more self-conscious. Kids love partner work. Teens some of them can love it, and some of it, it's not so great if they're self-conscious, and some don't like physical touch, you know. So I know that I just had Kaya, my youngest daughter, so it was like 18 years ago. And, you know, at that time I was going to a weekly Ashtanga class, and that was my little bit of respite. You know, my husband would come home from work, and I'd have once a week I'd go to my Ashtanga class. And I remember going to this Ashtanga class, she said, today we're going to be partner work. Everyone else knew each other, and I was left with this big sweaty man that I didn't know. I'm not anti-men at all, but I just didn't want a sweaty man lying on top of me. Who would have thought I'd be telling you guys this? But yeah, it was like, oh, you know, it's like I'm lying there with this man that I don't know with this sweat on me, and I'm coming home feeling a little bit, I didn't feel that same rush of, you know, it was like I felt a little bit like I really didn't want to do that, you know. So remember, the kids are like, yeah, to partner work, they don't mind if teens start to become really aware, and they're like, oh, I don't really know if I like to do this. So I would say the week before, so don't throw it on them, because teens don't like that either. You know, I think I am still a little bit of a teenager inside, you know. They like to kind of know, so they can get the idea of it first. If you say, right, we're going to do this, oh, they can really put walls up if you throw things on them. So you drip feed it to say, like, next week, I'm thinking of doing partner work with you. What do you think? And you don't know, because if they've got to know each other, you do it like the first week or if they've got to know each other, and you know, teens love partner work once they've got to know you and got to know the group. So my Kippy Lodge teens, at the end of the term, they will enjoy it. It'll be fun. But also make sure, you know, if you've got odd numbers, you don't want, you know, an awkward boy to be left on his own or left to go with an awkward girl, you know, because you don't have that with kids yoga, and adults get over themselves, apart from me when I have a sweaty man lying on me. But teens they'll think you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. You're there for them to really be. Okay, so that's part of that as well. So they want to get away from this stress and anxiety. So we're coming into that. So the science of happiness, as I was saying, there's so much to it. I could go on and on and on about the science of happiness, but that's not part of the course. But if you go to Coursera, and Yale University will do the free course with you, it's really relevant for if you're teaching yoga. So having an understanding, or having an understanding of whether you're doing stuff right as well. So and go, oh yeah, I actually do that without realizing, or oh, that's a good idea to do. So the science, I quite like the science behind things. So teenagers, the stress and anxiety, I find movement allows you to release it. It's like somatics in a sense. So Osho active meditation is always quite a good one, but doing it, if you've never heard of Osho active meditation, it's if you've done training with me, even like some of you guys that have trained with me as kids yoga teachers, you'll know, because it's one of the things, if you to be a kids yoga teacher, you've got to be a big kid, and if you arrive and you're all awkward and you're like really not in your body and you don't really know how to have fun, it's going to be difficult for you. So it's almost like everyone's all shy and nervous. So I tend to sometimes throw in, and we would have done this in the first or second day, the Osho active meditation. It's only an hour, but it takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And it's you can actually Google it, you can get it on iTunes, Osho active meditation, and it's 15 minutes. You stand, so you wouldn't do the hour with the teens, but you can adapt it and use cool music. Okay, so some of my teen yoga teachers do this, and it really works. So it's 15 minutes. You've got your eyes closed, and you just got to shake to like so kind of a noise. It's not really music, the Osho stuff. Try it yourself before you teach it, though, I would say. And then keeping your eyes closed, the music the sounds change, and it's 15 minutes of moving or dancing. So yeah, I kind of channel my drunk Auntie Alison and Bez from the Happy Mondays sort of thing. But it's some people don't like to dance, but they'll just move, or they'll breathe and breathe out, and just it's like about keeping your eyes closed and just moving to the sounds. And this is where teenagers like, oh, and adults a lot. And some of my graduates have said that when I first introduced them to it, they were like, oh my God, oh, ooh. And it's now one of their favorite things. It takes you to another place. You feel really vulnerable. You know the same things when you first go on your yoga mat, and you start feeling really vulnerable because you're starting to have to take responsibility for your feelings and your emotions instead of going there and checking out and copying the teacher. Same sort of thing. So then the music changes into something else, and it's 15 minutes of sitting and meditation, and then it stops, and then you have 15 minutes Shavasana. It's one of the best Shavasanas you can get. But that's an hour. Teens are going to go, but you can do it with like 5 minutes of shaking to music and 5 minutes of like moving to music, or even a couple of minutes, less than 5 minutes. And then a few minutes of sitting with your eyes closed, and then you're going to lie down and just allow them. So just that moving, when I do, that's why the Kundalini stuff really works, because we all hold tension and emotions in our body, and if we don't release them, it can lead to it can lead to stress and anxiety, but it can also then end up, you can become ill. So working with a lot of one-to-ones who've got fibromyalgia and ME and chronic pain. One of my friends is a psychiatrist, and she refers some of her patients to do one-to-ones with me. And from working with them with their chronic pain, the more I work with them, the more I've discovered that their chronic pain, their fibromyalgia, it actually stems from emotional pain. So then we kind of start to work through the somatics of it. And I think the more you can reach the somatics and the deeper parts of that and release that, actually then you can start healing. So it can come out in a physical way. So you see a lot of, I never used to see anybody with fibromyalgia. It's almost like a new thing, but this is because it's stemming from there's a lot more mental health issues because of the way of the world, but people aren't being helped or held. There's still that stigma attached to mental health. So moving in the body. So sun salutations, get them moving with the sun salutations, connecting to the breath. So shaking, you can get them at the beginning of the class, even before, just to stand and just to shake, just close their eyes and shake for a bit, and then go very still and connect with the breath. Another good one for helping with stress and anxiety is, some people call it the ragdoll breath or wood chopper breath. I call it the Ganesha breath, who's the elephant-headed Hindu god. He is, he's the remover of all obstacles. So any obstacles that you have in your life, chopping them away. So it involves standing with your legs apart, holding your hands in Venus lock, inhale through the nose and exhaling through the mouth with a so you can do it with just without that, and just flop forwards and just allow yourself to flop, then breathing in. But the chopper, when you're actually chopping away that obstacle with the and then breathing in through the nose and coming back up, it's really cathartic. It's a really good way, again, to start the class. So it's like, think of anything that's holding you back in life. It could be yourself, your emotions, your confidence. It could be another person, because sometimes they have controlling parents and they're like, oh, I want to do this. So what's holding them back from getting to where they want to go? Think about that. It could be a thing. How do you chop that obstacle away? So use it with the breath. Okay. And then there's like moving the arms as well. So you're like with the breath, this is another Kundalini, standing up and you're moving the arms, nice big deep breaths each way. That actually helps helps with the electromagnetic field, which is also known as the aura. Okay, so your aura should be about 9, and an aura has been measured. So this is me not being a weirdo witchy type person. So there's lots of science involved, and I do go deeper into that with my 200 hours blog. But so it's like the Curlian theory, where when I had my womb removed in my hysterectomy in August, it was like, oh, do you not feel that sense of emptiness? Well, actually, no, because I studied the Curlian, actually the pranic energy is still there. So whatever happened in my womb, having babies and everything, even though there is no womb there, there's still the pranic energies. They've proven it that if you chop it, you're not going to chop off your arm, obviously. If somebody has had their arm chopped off or a limb missing or something, you can actually, the energetic field of that still there. So they have it with leaves and living things, and they can do it with a diseased leaf and a healthy leaf, but they can do it with humans, that it's almost like they can take a photo of the pranic field. So it's almost like, and I think it should be really like, there should be more looked into it, because they can tell that which plant is diseased. So they can do it with the prana. You can figure out whether you're going to get ill or not before you actually get ill, because the prana isn't so prevalent. So this is the prana, the energy that's moving through your body. You also have your sheaths, the koshas. Going deeper. If you want to learn more about the koshas, it's a really interesting book that will help you understand the koshas through your body. This is my 200-hour guys have read it. It's Iyengar's Light on Life. So this is the layers of energy. So you've got the electromagnetic field. If your magnetic field, if you're feeling depressed or scared or ill or anything like that, your aura gets small, your electric magnetic field gets small. So if you've got smaller, like you're not filled with prana, you're more likely to be affected by negative external circumstances. Your immune system's going to be poor. So by practicing yoga and practicing pranayama, it raises your vibrational frequency. So this one, according to Yogi Bhajan, he's the Kundalini man, nice big deep breath, actually increases your electromagnetic field, keeping your aura nice and big. Get your teens to get their auras nice and big. And they actually are interested in the science of things like that. You know, they're far more open to, if you apply the science to it, you know, they like the interesting quantum physics sides of yoga. Share that with them. So now, you know, so yeah, so there's different types of healing breaths, and we're going to speak about that and how to deal with stress and anxiety. One of the things is abdominal breathing. So abdominal breathing, getting them to breathe into their bellies is good for calming down. So breathing into the belly is scientifically proven to help with stress relief. Breathing into the chest opens up the body. It actually is more invigorating. So if you're wanting them to be more enthusiastic, they're wanting to be more inspired. So, you know, if they're lethargic, breathing into the chest, encouraging their chest to open up. We're going to do more about pranayama later on, but the general thing is breathing into the chest lifts and inspires and gives you more energy. Breathing into the belly calms you down, settles you down. So, and then you've got the inhale and the exhale. So breathing in and extending the inhale, making that longer than the exhale, or a hold after the inhale gives you more energy. And you'll see that people that are really busy have a really strong, like business people, you know, people that are always on the go. They've got a really strong inhale, but they're breathe like really shallow out. So a lot of yogis, not all yogis, because just because you're a yogi doesn't mean to say you're there. I've seen so many rajastic moving about yogis that are all because they're very much in their asana and doing that and not actually sitting down and connecting to their breath. They don't have a meditation practice. They're really more in their, they're more about the exercise side. But the more you do your asana, sometimes you find it that way. And then you'll find your real yoga. But it's like there's a lot of yogis have a natural exhale, a larger exhale. So by working with breathing out, so this is where you're wanting to, if you're wanting to work with stress and anxiety with your teens, you're getting them to breathe out longer with the exhale. So maybe breathe out to the count of, breathe into the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 6 or maybe 8. We see where they're at. Or you can breathe into 4, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 2. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 2. A hold after the exhale again is soothing for the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, it's usually defined as part of the nervous system that's involuntary, not consciously directed, such as breathing, heartbeat, and digestive processes. So 3 parts of the autonomic nervous system include the sympathetic, which is the most primitive, the parasympathetic, which is evolved later, and then social engagement, which is final. So there's not a lot of people don't speak about this one. They are either speak about the sympathetic or the parasympathetic systems. We're also including social engagement as one of them too. Okay, so this is the final stage of development in human evolution. So the sympathetic nervous system, it triggers the fight or flight responses. So there's so many teens that, well, I know that like my team, that I went away with for an experience with my girls. And Levi, my oldest daughter, said, well, no, I'm never doing that again. Kai was horrible to you. So I'd go, we sit at the breakfast table, I'd say, would you like a cup of tea, Kai? No, I would not. Why are you asking me that? Levi said, every time you even ask her something nice, she shoots you down and fights with you. I'm like, oh, it's just teenagers. Don't worry about it. You were like that. So that's like the faster respiration, accelerated heart rate, pupil dilation, paler skin tone, increased sweating, cold skin, decreased digestion, and peristaltic action. So by being on that fight or flight, it can make people constipated as well. So yeah. So it also increases mobilization behaviors, anxiety, anger, and fear. So there's a lot of, hello Elaine, we're speaking about the nervous system and stress and anxiety. So these are things, the anger and the stress and the fear, it comes from the sympathetic nervous system. Now, from studying trauma and studying all that sort of stuff, so I can give back more to my teens and to all my students. It's kind of like, well, the fight or flight, we all need it to keep alive, and it's kind of stems from caveman days where we needed the fight or flight, so be in our caves, and then a big tiger, saber-toothed tiger comes in. We've got to know to make that decision quick. So we survive. We need to know whether things are black or white, right, that's good, that's bad, right, run away or kill it, that's the thing. So you can see just now, with everything that's going on in the world, there's still a lot of people with that caveman fight or flight thing. But we don't need to have, things aren't so black or white. It's like wavy lines, it's shades of gray in a sense that, but we still need a bit of fight or flight, so we know to not step in front of a car when we're crossing the road. It's just knowing how to not be in that all the time, because the cortisol, all the stress hormones go flooding through your body, can lead to this, fatigue. And I think this is where some of the chronic fatigue stuff and fibromyalgia stuff comes from as well. They're on constant fight or flight. They're feeling like they're in danger. And because of that, the system eventually goes, nah, I've had enough. So we don't want our teens to eventually just give up their bodies to give up on them, because they're in their sympathetic nervous system. So we need to really be aware of the parasympathetic nervous system. But if you're working on that all the time, you end up like becoming really tamasic, like, oh my, not getting anything done. And you don't want to be too in that space where you're not caring. You need to have that. So this is where there's stuff that works with the sympathetic system to lift you too. So again, so it's not the sympathetic system bad and parasympathetic's good. So don't look at things as black or white. There's reasons for them, and there needs to be the yin and the yang of it. So if you constantly just did yin yoga, you'd have like really healthy joints, but your muscles wouldn't be so stretched and strong and stable, and you wouldn't have moved so much. And if you're constantly doing yang practice, it's not good for your joints, and you just like wear out. So there's always balance with everything. So the parasympathetic nervous system, it triggers rest and digest. So this is responses such as slower, deeper breathing, slower heart rate and pulse, decreased blood pressure, pupil constriction, warm, usually dry skin, increased digestion and peristaltic action. But the demobilizing behaviors for this is indecisiveness, seclusion, and depression. So the sympathetic system triggers anxiety, anger, and fear. So the parasympathetic system triggers indecisiveness, seclusion, and depression. So there's some people have depression and anxiety together, but some people only suffer from depression, some people only suffer from anxiety. So it's good to be aware of that. If you're just really working with constantly yin yoga, parasympathetic, it might lead to you feeling a little bit low. You need to have that little bit of fire in you too. Okay? So, and then we're leading to the third part of the nervous system, the one that lots of people don't speak about, the social nervous system. So, and this is really interesting and relevant to teens of today especially. So it's responsible for empathy and primarily non-verbal communication. So such as eye and voice contact, capacity for empathy and social interaction, spontaneous feelings in social contact, involuntary motor actions of the face, the mouth and the throat, facial warmth and sensations, interpersonal responses and awareness, and involuntary physical responses to contact with or memories of significant people and events. So overactivity of the sympathetic nervous system can lead to many pathologies, including insomnia, anxiety, weaker elimination, and the inability to manage stress. So by making it more challenging to get still or have a meaningful meditative experience, it can play a role in impeding growth in yoga. So the higher mental and social functioning is required to practice and teach yoga. So the more you work with for yourselves as teachers, the more you work with your social nervous system. If you were like coming onto the mat, hello, and not giving people eye contact. This is something it's difficult. It's difficult to do eye contact online. And this is something that I love the social nervous system stuff, and the fact that if you're teaching in real life, I like that connection with people, where when you're teaching, you have that little private moment where you catch each other's eye and give them a wee smile, where you have like a little moment of understanding. You don't really get that so much with online yoga, but if you came online and you're just, you've got to, like, you maybe use your hands, but smiling as well. It's making people feel welcome as well. So the asanas that stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, so this is the ones that calm you down, there's more stress relieving, or anything that opens the hips, some forward bends, most forward bends, I would say. Halasana, the plow pose. So this is a really good one because it's working with the endocrine system. It's an inversion. So halasana, the plow pose, and shoulder stand as well. And going upside down sometimes is really good for that too. But be aware that some people, it's more adults than teens. You think almost like as you get older, some people become fearful. But this opening, like heart opening, back bend practice, it's fear releasing, but people can feel a little bit. I spoke to my kids yoga teachers and said that some people don't release that thing that babies have, where they go, and if you don't release that reflex at the age you're supposed to release it, it can lead to dyspraxia, dyslexia, but also that release, that way of coming back into ustrasana, the camel pose. They maybe haven't released that reflex yet. Something that helps release fear is the coming into, like hugging your knees and rolling back and forwards on your mat. It stimulates your spine, but it's a fear releasing thing. What I do with my teens, and it's part of an Ashtanga practice, you try and get them to roll around 9 times until they come back to the center. So they have to be really present to come, it's like you're going back and forward, keep going around until you come back to the center. You've got to think, I have to do it 9 times. So it's just a way of really allowing themselves to be present and release fear. So going upside down, teens love going upside down, doing wall work and stuff like that, but some aren't, especially some of the people that aren't so active as well. And, you know, they've got, that's why I've recorded that thing for you to see, but that's why I do it quite quickly. It's different to teaching adults. You do it quickly and you move on, so that the people that are hating it aren't like going to be bored. You give them options, and the people who love it, you can keep going through with them, but then come back something else. But you know yourself with your own yoga practice, there's stuff that you love and stuff that you don't like so much. The stuff that you don't like is the stuff you should be practicing anyway. Same with, it's the thing with real life as well. We're kind of we kind of go with, this is go with what's, it's, I say it with my yoga students. It's called Anga Banga and Sarvasana. So this is we practice what we like, what we get used to. We don't sometimes practice what we need, or where we're going to get challenged and grow, maybe evolve in our minds and emotions and our bodies. We just get comfortable with things. So we do that in our practice, but we do that in real life as well. So we tend to be drawn to the things that make us feel comfortable and don't, but teens like to take a bit of risk taking, in the sense that they like to do some of the more wilder stuff. But I love doing the wilder teaching. I love practicing forearm balancing, going upside down, and really experimenting and doing all the fun stuff. So that's why I love teaching teens, because they are more likely to do more of the wilder some stuff than the scaredy adults, so it doesn't matter if you can't do it, as I said earlier. Even if you can't do it physically, you can still teach it and just have fun with them. Teaching them it's okay to still have fun. Just because you're growing up, you're becoming a grown-up as a teenager, doesn't mean life's not fun anymore. You've got more responsibilities and obligations, but you can still have fun. It's all good. Another thing that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system is twists, especially twists with a strong hip opening component. Twists are actually tridoshic. They balance all three body types according to Ayurveda. They're also sattvic. So sattvic means pure. We're going to speak about the gunas. I'm going to do a little Ayurveda talk for you, so you understand rajas, tamas, and sattva. So, but if you're wanting to be more balanced, also when you're working with the vayus, the energy in your body, it works with samana, and samana, is a balancing energy. So twists, always incorporate a twist in your practice, because they bring out tension in the body. They're good for digestion. They're good for all body types, and they bring balance into your life, and they're sattvic. Everyone should be twisting all the time. Not all the time, because that would just be weird. Okay, so so the asanas that engage the sympathetic nervous system. So this is if we want to lift ourselves up. If you've got some teens that are low, if the energy's low, this is more like horrible winter's evening. They're stuck inside all the time. The energy's really low. The moon is at waning, so it's getting smaller. It's like, well, we need to lift them up, don't we? So the asanas that engage the sympathetic nervous system are back bends, laterals. So this is side stretches. So side stretches are inspiring. They allow you to be more enthusiastic, and they encourage growth, seeing life from a different perspective. They're really, because everything that we do as human beings is so linear. We do everything forwards and back, and so all of a sudden doing this, it's not normal. Way, great. How often do we get to stretch out these sides of our body and really feel it? So Yeah, get some side stretching in. Arm balancing as well. So arm balance is a good one. And it also, arm balancing is good for fear releasing too. It's good for playfulness. So like teaching them, even if they can't do it, try and do it. They're going to have fun doing it. It also encourages them to have a strong core. So working with the core is actually strengthening Manipura chakra. I'm going to go into the chakras soon. Most of you guys, well, some of you guys already know about the chakras, so I don't want to bore you too much. So I'm going to do a little recording on that. So some of you who've heard me time and time again, especially if you've done the kids training with me, the 200-hour training, instead of having to do live of that, I'm going to record it. And if you've already done the chakras with me, you don't need to watch it. But if you haven't, really think you do need to watch it, because teens really resonate with the chakras, and doing chakra balancing practices, that's what they ask me for all the time. Can we do a chakra balancing practice? Can we do something that involves the chakras? Chakras and teenagers go so well together, but I will speak more about that. But it encourages it actually, forearm balancing and arm balancing stimulate the Manipura chakra, which is in your solar plexus area. It's the color yellow. It's your personal power, your self-esteem, and your relationship with yourself. Such a teenager chakra, that one. That's what they need. And that's what sometimes they're overactive when they're trying to fight with their mums all the time. Their Manipura chakra, but that if it's overactive, it's unbalanced. So it could be underactive. You're lacking in self-esteem, or even some of that is actually because you're struggling with your self-esteem and you're trying to reestablish who you are. So most standing postures, apart from forward bends, are also good for that. They're quite grounding. If it's one of these days where the energy's all like, people are feeling a little bit scattered, that kind of way where you're a bit, in your head, and, it's a weird day. Sometimes full moons can make them feel a little bit, doing warrior poses are very, very grounding. I'll encourage you to come into your body, but they also get you feeling strong, and so it actually does stimulate the sympathetic system, but not too much that you're going to be like wired. Yeah. So while asana can stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, it can't do it as effectively as the breath. Okay. So working with the breath is really, really important, especially with teenagers. Now, I think with kids, it's not understanding the breath and doing the breathing techniques. But once you get to teenagers, teaching them how to work with the breath, giving them breathing techniques, and little meditation techniques. So you saw that I've posted a few of my Kundalini meditation techniques onto your site. My teens love all these, and because people go, I've tried meditation once, it's just too boring. These ones, because they're actively using a mudra, hand position, or a mantra, or a breathing technique, and there's a reason for it. So this meditation is for this. That's where instead of saying, let's just do meditation, sit there. So giving them a reason for why they're doing it. Teenagers are a little bit like toddlers, but why? They don't say why. You can see it in their faces, and they are thinking it. And then they start having an internal conversation with themselves. So before they ask why, tell them why. You can tell them when you're in your postures what it's really good for. Sometimes and that's why they love working with the chakras as well. Because when I'm in some postures, I can sometimes say, this one really opens up your fifth chakra, which is the color blue, and it's in your throat. And if you have neck issues or throat issues, it might be something to do with not being able to communicate well, or speak your truth, or know who you are, or stick up for yourself. Yeah. So can you guys still see me? Because it's like really bright in here. Can you see me? Yeah. Is it just me that can't see you? Okay. So the breath it's both unconscious and it's a conscious function as well. So conscious control of the breath allows you to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance. So your mental and emotional states are reflected in your breath patterns. So by becoming aware of your breath, you gain insight into both, and gradually you can transform unconscious patterning. So I've been speaking with my 200-hour guys about that, about, you know, to unconscious patterning, what's in your subconscious. So breath is the bridge to the mind is a bridge to the soul. So by really harnessing the breath, we're going to really get rid of these unconscious patterning that we can instill at a young age. And if we continue, it can be quite detrimental to our choices in life. So in addition, you can make your breath more calm and balanced, and you can become more calm and focused. So attention to the breath is a way of becoming more physically and mentally conscious. Given that the breath is tangible or material, something that you can see, hear, and feel, it can be the ideal means for establishing a meditation practice. So this is what I was saying, like using the breath or working with mudras can really allow them to stop having that wandering mind as well. I also said to some of my guys when we've been doing the 20-minute sequencing and they felt nervous, and which is perfectly natural because nerves mean that you want it. Nerves mean you're passionate about it. If you're complacent about it, if you're like not nervous about something like that, then you're not really as passionate about it as you should be. So it's perfectly normal to have nerves in it. So when you first start teaching, you're going to be like, oh no, everyone's looking at me. So owning your mat, being on your mat, and knowing who, like, you can actually put on that wee teaching hat, but they've found that sometimes it'd be like, oh, their minds go blank, or you know, this, or something that happens. So actually, your students won't notice if you like pause and breathe. You can even make your breath audible, come into Ujjayi breath. And just have a couple of seconds to gather yourself, or even get them to sit and pause, get them to breathe while you connect to your breath, gather yourself, and then you can continue. So by working with, so because when I teach it all kind of in segments, not necessarily with the kids. I'm like, whoa, it has to flow. But with teens, checking in with yourself in between each kind of segment, and the same with adults. By checking in with yourself, it's good for you to check in with yourself too, and then you don't get all carried away. You're not in your own head. You got to come out of here and come into here and really feel it as well. So not allowing your mind to go everywhere by coming into your breath really helps. So teaching your students to come into their breath, but as a teacher, coming into your breath as well. So the energetic effects of the breath. So through inhale, exhale, and various approaches to retention of the breath, we can create a variety of energetic effects. So inhale is brahmana, which means to activate, enliven, and accelerate. Back bends and laterals helps to facilitate the inhale, and they've got similar energetic effects. So emphasizing the breath into the chest is brahmana, activating the SNS, the sympathetic nervous system. So exhale is langana, which means to slow down, to reduce and to lighten. Forward bends and twists help to facilitate the exhale and its energetic effects. So when you teach twists, you breathe in to lengthen, breathe out to twist. Breathe in to lengthen, breathe out to twist. With forward bends, breathe in to lengthen, breathe out to fold. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine, breathe out, let go. So really work with the command of the breath when you're teaching, okay? So balanced inhale and exhale are equal breathing. So you can breathe in to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 4. Is samana. We're speaking about samana, which means equal or balanced. So twists also are samana, okay? So holding after the inhale intensifies the effects of inhale, Brahmana, and holding after the exhale intensifies the effects of the exhale, Langana. So we've all kind of got an idea now of harnessing the breath, using the breath to work the nervous system. So that's going to help with taking your students to where they need to be. Like what breath work do I need to do? What asanas do I need to do? So we're going to move into the meditation side of things. So meditation is a self-healing process, okay? So any form of stress is a sign of negative thinking and dis-ease within our mind. So if we don't attend to dis-ease in the mind, we may find that chronic stress can lead to disease of the body. So teaching meditation to teens is a wonderful way of empowering them to discover the peacefulness which resides within them. So encourage the students to do a little when they can. So certainly when they feel really overwhelmed and in need of retreating into themselves for a while. So meditation is a health method of escapism. So it allows the mind to have a rest and just be. So too, it allows the students to just be with themselves for a while. Some teens, they never get a chance to be in their own. You know, it's like, it's different sometimes to the way we were as teens. In the fact that because you've got mobile phones and you've got all these different things and they're at school all day with their pals, they come home and their mum and dad maybe want attention or they've got after school stuff or they've got exams, and then when even in their room, what are they doing? They're on their phones, on their computers, their friends are wanting to speak to them, they're on social media. There's that constant like it's at you. They need some kind of respite, or it is going to lead to you know, that not being able to think for yourself, not having time in your own head is not good. So you can teach a meditation at the start of a class or at the end of a class. So some of these meditations I put on is good. And hopefully you've listened to the Kundalini, if you weren't on the recent children's yoga training, because I put that on for them as well. But if you've watched that one, the one I've posted on your Facebook group, it talks you through Kundalini meditations. We do some, and there's a little Kundalini set to do, but also tells you how to get hold of all this information and how to contact, how to download it and get more information so that you can sequence it. So make sure you watch that so that you can get a handle on how to you can get lots more Kundalini meditations as well. Okay, so I like to sometimes start with a Kundalini meditation with my teens because they really enjoy it, and it actually takes them out of their busy heads. You know, a lot of the time they've traveled to get somewhere and they're on the mat. Same with everybody, you know, they come in and it's like with Ashtanga, you start immediately in sun salutations. It's not until a few sun salutations you're in your practice. So I like to get my students to come into the practice first and then come into their practice and then be able to really move forwards into it. So, but I think with Ashtanga, they use the sun salutations in that way. But by working with Kundalini meditations is actually a good way of coming into the class, or so try not to do any of the weird ones maybe to start off with, or you'll fear them a little bit. So not all students, most of the population finds sitting still, most of them don't find sitting still easy. So you're going to start with short meditations and you can increase them over time, but it's better not to do really long meditations to start with, okay? So So it should be a slow process. It's not rushed. Just get them to be used to just being able to sit still. And I would say at the beginning, or if you're wanting them to sit still and do some sort of meditation or something like that, would be, if they're not used to it, to do it after the asana, because they've been moving and breathing, they've connected to their breath, though actually their bodies will feel more still and less fidgety. But the Kundalini meditation, where you're breathing and moving and doing these things, that actually allows you to come in. But if you're wanting to do any kind of still contemplative meditation, I would say do that near the end, before Shavasana. So for visualizations, not everyone can visualize easily. So suggest that they feel the visualization, or just know it's there or happening. There's always emphasizes no rights or wrongs, you know. So and throughout the meditation, make sure their spines are still upright. So always, with teens, always come back to their posture. So many teens like that, you know. My oldest daughter's father, we were together when we were 16. So he's like really tall, but his mum always told him to stand tall. So he's got really good posture. But most boys, they suddenly grow, they go chubby to all of a sudden arms and legs, and that's them. And they feel awkward. It's the same with girls. They seem to sprout up a lot quicker than the boys. There's all these tall girls trying to hide, or their boobs start growing and they feel really uncomfortable. So it's getting them to really, so work with postures like Dandasana, the staff pose. Just even a seated pose at the beginning, get them to every now and again check in with themselves to relax their shoulders down. There's so many teenagers out that practice like that, and let them be aware that if you're practicing yoga with tense shoulders, your neck's going to be, it's not going to be safe. So by having relaxed shoulders protects the neck. Yeah. So starting an introduction to meditation with students by just getting them to focus on their breathing. So we're going to go and speak about maybe the mindfulness side of things. And mention that if their mind wanders, then just to notice the thoughts without judgment and take their awareness back to their breath. So I always tell them to become curious observers, to just be curious and observe what's going on. So no judgment, being curious. If you apply that to your life is so much more fun being a curious observer. There's no judgment. You're just there. Don't take things personally. Step out your own way. So how long should you meditate? Yeah, well, if you, I think to teach yoga, if you're teaching teens, you should have a practice, a yoga practice. And I think practicing meditation is pretty important, because if you can't hold your own space, how can you hold others' space? So start with 5 minutes each day, if you like, and gradually increase over several weeks, you know. So practice, you know, I practice quite a lot now. Meditation is one of my biggest things, but it's very much, as you get older, this is the way that the Vinyasa Krama, Tantric yoga and Ayurveda work. Now, as you get older, your body doesn't need so much exercise. So as you're young, you're more in a kapha body and you need to move. And so you've got movement and a little bit of meditation and pranayama. As you get older, your joints don't need to do so much stuff, that it should be balanced out. So it should be, I think is it 50% asana and the other 50% should be pranayama, meditation. So that's kind of what I practice now. But I used to be like 2 hours vinyasa and say I do 15 minutes meditation. And that doesn't sound very joyful to me anymore, but I loved it. But now, like I'll do an hour's asana and probably an hour pranayama and meditation every day. So it's almost like if I don't practice, it's like I haven't brushed my teeth. Well, I don't get dirty teeth if I don't practice, but you know what I mean. It's like it's like a routine that I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't do my practice. I notice it. So you can find a comfortable spot, and you can say to your teens, if they're not used to, teenagers should have a stronger enough core, and they shouldn't have back issues that they can't sit. It's normally adults, when you're teaching them meditation, they've got to find a bit of wall to lean on. They go, oh my goodness, I can't do this, and then they sit in a chair. And it's like, as adults, like we stop sitting on the floor, and we stop doing this, and then our psoas muscles, the long muscle right in our groin tightens up. A lot of runners and Jen McLaughlin, there's lots of Jens here. Jen, being a PT, you know a lot about the psoas muscle, far more than me. You've probably got a lot of people with tight psoas muscles that you'll be working with. So so it's like teens shouldn't have tight psoas muscles, really. They should be fine sitting at peace. So it's kind of just saying it's okay, just making sure that they're working with their posture, because I think that's important. You can get them to even just count with their breath, and you can get them to see, like what I do with some of mine is give them a meditation. I run them through a simple meditation, and then I'll say, right, try and practice that every day for 5 minutes, and next week when you come back to me, let's discuss it and see how you got on. So it's almost like using it as a little challenge that they'll do, and they will do it. There's an app. There's always an app for everything nowadays, isn't there? It's like it's like the people either say Google it, or there's an app for that. But there is an app for this. Insight Timer. If you've not heard of Insight Timer, you need an Insight Timer on your phone, really. I don't use it. It's just more to show my students. But it's free. And a lot of my teens and kids students use Insight Timer, because you can go in and you can choose how many minutes you want to meditate for. You can choose a type of meditation that you want to do, or how do you want to feel. And there's yoga nidras on there too. There's even like relaxing yoga music that if you're not teaching online, because we've discovered from when we first went online, and I tried to do a nice shavasana with music, and I was like, thinking, they were loving that. And afterwards they came out and went, what was that music? It was actually Tina Turner doing a mantra, which it's lovely. It's on YouTube. So Tina Turner doing a mantra, it's a lovely one for shavasana. If it's not online, because my guys were like, oh, that was horrible. I'll always feel bad for that. Sorry, Elaine and Sandra. There's me thinking, they're loving it. They're lying there listening to this tinny noise going, what the hell is that? So don't use music online. In real life, they love a bit of music, but we're going to speak about the legalities of that near the end of the course, because there's legislation about playing music in classes and stuff like that. But Insight Timer is a great one, and even introducing your teens to it. And even you could choose one and say, right, have this one on your phone and try this one, and let's come back and see how we got on with that one. And so every week have a different one. Get them to get into it, and they'll realize the more because you know yourself, the more you practice, the better you feel. And then if you stop, you're like, I feel horrible. I need to do that again. So getting them into that, and it's like one of the best things you can do for teenagers. So in your manual, there's also other apps that you can use. Headspace. Is that the one? I think that's the one that are doing, Elaine, I sent that one, I put that one on Facebook the other day. I think it's Headspace, isn't it? They're giving that, because that's a paid one. There's an app that if you're unemployed, you can get it for free. Is that right? I think it's Headspace.
Yeah, it was Headspace. They're doing it for free if you're unemployed just now due to COVID.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really good idea. So Headspace is one. There's one called the Buddhify. There's Smiling Mind. There's 10% Happier. there's stop, breathe, think. There's so much things that teens can use, but you can use some of them as well and get ideas as well on different types of meditations. So I think incorporating like a little 5-minute into a teen class is quite important. So this mindfulness meditation, we're going to go over a bit of mindfulness today. Guided imagery and visualization, you can find so much of that on the internet, but you'll find there's some in the book that you from your reading list. I'm giving you some of the ones that I do with you, but you'll always have access to stuff like that. But teens love in Shavasana guided relaxation. They love to be guided with that. Candle meditation. So this is all in your on your manual. So I'm not just going to read out the manual. It's for you to go back to and have a look. But teens quite like things that are a little bit different and quirky. So candle meditation, tataka, it's something you could do with them at the end of or even the beginning of the class to get them focused so they're not too busy giggling and flirting at the boys across the room, because I do find that with some of my guys. It takes them a while to calm down a little bit because they're too much, oh, is he looking at me? You know, while the boys are showing off, you know, so it takes a wee while. So candle meditation, just like having little tools like that. If there isn't a fire alarm, you can, I always carry sage with me, because sage, if burnt, I think it's 84% or is it 94% of any sort of, he's trying to sell me something, any sort of like bacteria or anything in the air. Obviously it doesn't kill COVID, or else they'd be saging everything. But it's meant to be really good for illness, you know, if you're in school. So like in some of the schools that I teach, even though there is big smoke alarms, if we're in a big gym hall, right, I'll go, oh, let's be a little bit naughty and we'll do some sage, and I just go around and light it only for a few minutes, and I'm probably not supposed to, but they like that because you're being a little bit naughty. But if it's an after school thing, if you're going into the academy, you know, like teens, like really like, you're going in and they're all feeling a bit wrecked. Sage lifts the energy. So even it's a good one for you to do. It changes the energy in the room. If you walk into your room and that you can feel that difference in energy, or you feel like, ugh, saging your house or saging your room, or if you've got a grumpy teenager in your house, oh, you know, the energy sometimes, saging it annoys them even more because they hate sage. Well, no, my teens like sage. My daughter Kaya hates sage. So when she was living around, she was like drumping, sage the house, get rid of the negativity. But because it's almost like something a little bit quirky and cool, and you can say, like, this is really good for germs in the environment, it's good for lifting your spirits and make you feel less sleepy. It does actually make you feel less, you know, it brightens you. So you can just light a little bit below it and go round, get them all to have a wee, put a little bit. And if you're into Reiki like I am, I normally give them a wee Reiki symbol each as well, so, which they love. You know, if they get used to it. If I did it in the first day, they'd be, she's a right raving weirdo. They know I'm a raving weirdo, but they know I'm harmless now. So that's the thing. It's okay to own your weirdness, but you got to kind of tame it down to start off with. So yeah, so sage is a good one as well. You can meditate on sounds. I would say, like, I wouldn't incorporate mantras right at the beginning, because that's when they're again going, oh, he's a right weirdo, what's that? But as they get to know you, you can start doing like you can even, each chakra has a different sound. Even you can do some of the, like, if you're doing a theme of one of the chakras, you can do a mantra of that. And good mantras, I say to my kids yogi teachers, So Hum is a really good one, but it's especially good for teenagers because it's encouraging that I amness, that self-esteem thing. So Hum means I am, you know. So as I said in yesterday's lecture, you know, when we were born into there's universal consciousness, Purusha, and the things that never change, that connection, and then there's the things that change, the fluctuations of life, Prakriti. Prakriti is made into is anything that changes and fluctuates. So before we come into life and we become part of Prakriti, in the sense, and start to become these we're in our bodies, we are an idea, we are this ancient, we're this spark of light, and this idea, this perfect version of ourselves, and it's called a Mahat. Mahat is who we are and who we're supposed to be. But you know, as babies become toddlers, we become more ourselves. We come into ahamkara, our I amness. So yesterday I spoke about it and applied it to McLovin, the fake ID. So it's not who you really are. So yes, so teens are all about the I amness. So soham, or even getting them to breathe in, I get them to breathe out. Is a good one. To help balance the energies as well for visualizations, either in Shavasana or sometimes, well, I do this in plank with all my students, because it's really encouraging the prana to move through you and to encourage that that burning away of anything we're holding on to in the navel point. Breathing in, taking the energy down, and breathing out, taking the energy up. So if you're in Shavasana, just getting them, because sometimes they'll lie down in Shavasana and their minds are everywhere. So instead of letting them lie down and think about, oh yeah, now we need to do this, now we need to do that, get them to breathe in, take the breath as a white light from the base of, from the top of their head, all the way down their body, through their limbs, down to the soles of the feet. As you exhale, bring the breath from the soles of the feet all the way up to the legs, through the arms, up through the spine, out through the top of the head. So get them to really, so this is the like kind of almost the opposite way of the breath. So breathing in, bring it down, and breathing out, bring it up. So you're balancing prana and apana. So it's a really good way of bringing balance in, good breathing technique, and it's good for teens as well. Another one that the Kundalini yogis like to use is Sat Nam. So you can breathe in thinking Sat, breathe out thinking Nam, or there's the Sat Nam, or they can breathe in thinking Sat, breathe out thinking Nam. Sat Nam means truth is my name, or truth is my identity. So again, this is bringing in the Satya. If you've watched the video that I put on just before we went online, the one on the 8 limbs, and I discussed Satya was one of the 4 limb, well, part of the four. Why do I keep speaking about 4 limbs? It's like there's 8 of them. My goodness, I've got something in my head today. So yeah, so using mantras is a really good thing, but getting them to maybe think it with the breath is more is more accessible to teenagers, as opposed to throwing out all the chants and getting them to go, oh my goodness me. Meditations on mandalas or symbols as well, like Tritaka, or meditation and affirmations or words, something really positive, and using inspirational readings. So we're going to speak a little bit about mindfulness now. And as I said, I don't really do much mindfulness in the 200-hour because mindfulness is not really my huge thing like that I work with, because I really like to work with the energies of things and go deeper. But mindfulness is part of meditation and part of yoga. We have to be mindful as yogis anyway, so it's not like I reject it, and I practice it every day. The more you practice yoga, the more you naturally practice mindfulness. Children don't really practice mindfulness as much, or they actually are more mindful than all of us, because when they're doing stuff, if you ever watch a toddler playing, they're really immersed in their things. they're really doing their thing. When they do something or when they're eating, they're just loving that. They're being mindful. The older we get, the more we're trying to watch a movie, swiping through our phone, chatting to somebody that it's like, what? I see that when I go and stay with my daughter and her partner and my granddaughter, because I've got my own room there, and you go there and like I've not been able to do all that through this, but soon, because I'm going to stay with them on Sunday, because obviously I'm grandma on my own. I'm allowed to have a house that I can stay at now, so I'm very excited. So I'll get back to going with them. They watch a movie, so I'll be sitting with them, and Hallie I'll be playing. Stuart and Levi will be on their phones, looking at their phones, watching the movie, speaking to each other. Hallie is doing, and I'm sitting there going, what on earth? There's no mindfulness, and that's just, they're in their 20s. That's people in their 20s now. And that's like something that they've learned. Teens are exactly the same. They're doing loads of things, all like Kaya studying for exams, music's on, TV's on, doing her exams. That's the way they do it now. What? So we need to get mindfulness in. It's quite important. So according to the latest research, teens report higher levels of stress than adults do, at least during the school year. And almost half of teens say they're not doing enough to manage their stress. So in fact, the two most common strategies teens use to cope with stress are playing video games and surfing the internet. So mindfulness, so present moment, non-judgmental awareness, is a powerful tool that teens can use to manage their stress. So research indicates that when teens consistently practice mindfulness, it lowers rates of anxiety and depression and leads to better sleep, stronger relationships, and increased self-awareness, all of which can go a long way towards ameliorating the impact of stress. So mindful practices for teens. So expect stress. This is like, it's like almost like, it's like knowing, like the Buddhist way, I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm really interested in all types of, all religions come from the same place, but then they fight with each other. So it's just ridiculous. So if they're coming from the same place, then Buddhism say that life is painful. You're going to have painful moments. So pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So we know we're going to have stress at some point in our lives. So what are we going to do about it? So stress is a given, but being stressed out is optional. So we all face stress-inducing moments throughout our day. Whether it's a presentation at work or a test in biology, stress is a normal reaction in the body that creates the necessary nervous system activation to handle a challenging task. So it becomes a problem when we never allow that stress to be discharged, either through exercise or some of these practices that we're going to speak about. So research shows that people who expect stress are actually less stressed. So when we disabuse ourselves of the silly notion that things will always be easy and our day will generally go as planned, we're more prepared to handle the curveball life likes to throw at us. But that's not to say being negative, I think because with my daughter Kaya, she struggles with dark times and she's got a bit of negativity going on sometimes, but she's suffered with like depression, I would say, but that was because we had 4 deaths, sorry, because if we include our cat, no, I include 2 cats, if we're going to take it right. So 5 deaths, and her dad split from his wife, and I split from my boyfriend all at the same time. So my grandparents and my auntie that she was very close to, and both our cats, and 2 splits all in 1 year. And we just moved schools. One of her friends knocked her tooth out, her front adult tooth out, with a tennis racket by accident. She had 3 root canal treatments and it didn't take a lot of the time. So in their new school, they started calling her Nanny McPhee. So all this was going on all in 1 year, and so she's got, sometimes still has moments of darkness. So she has that, she thinks that things are going to go wrong sometimes, because things have gone wrong so many times. So I'm trying to get her to let her know that that's not normal, to have so much darkness in your life, you know, and you know there's so much to be grateful for. But when you're in a dark cloud, so there is some teens that look at things in a very negative way, and sometimes it's because of their life circumstances. I think Sandra and Claire Hislop, well, you guys all understand this scenario because you've worked with teens that have had really dark times or hard times. But there's a lot that are all like, oh yeah, everything's going to be wonderful. If you go somewhere, you're expecting it all to be good. There's always going to be disappointment. We all know that. So by going in, so not expecting it all to be rosy, but not expecting it to be dark and horrible, by knowing that we're going in as curious observers. We're going in with no expectations and we're curious about it. So teaching teens to be curious is the way forward, okay? So letting teens know as well that their stress is an entirely normal reaction to a challenge. It's perfectly normal to feel stressed out, and it's not their fault or something they've done wrong. Everyone deals with things in different ways. So some will feel depressed, some will feel stressed, some won't feel it so much because they get themselves busy. Some will dissociate. So they teach themselves not to feel, which isn't good either. That's something I think I did at some points of my life when things were bad. I kind of went into my own little world, and then it's like, oh, so I learned to dissociate, but yeah, that's not actually being in this world. So there's lots of things that teens can do to make themselves feel better. So in your manual here, you've got a breathing meditation for teens. There's also like, what's the story? So this is where I was speaking about the black and white thing. When I was learning about, you know, the neuroscience of trauma, if you've experienced trauma, which like my daughter Kaya did really in a sense, in a different way than I did. So she comes from trauma, which is, that's why her behavior can be like, ugh, and that's why I'm understanding of it. And that's why when she gets all like, blah, 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 I'll say, but is that true? She go, what do you mean? Well, it's happened before. They say, well, is it true? Is it fact? Or is it just how you feel? Is it your opinion based on what's happened? You know, is it actually the truth? Is that what somebody said? Or is this what's actually happened? Well, so it's the thing is, a big part of what stresses us out is the story we tell ourselves about what's happening. So encouraging your teen to stop when they're stressed and ask themselves, what's the story? Are they telling themselves they'll fail the test or that no one likes them? Ask if they can drop the story and notice what is actually happening. So it's called, is it radical reality or something? Oh, I can't remember what it is, but it's part of it's to do with healing trauma and PTSD. It's radical thinking, I think, or you know, you're really bringing in the reality of things and actually thinking, is this fact or is it an opinion? So teens get all caught up in the story of it, and she said that, and he said that, and then they think that, and then it's all like this. Oh my God. And actually you get them to sit back and go, what's the actual story here? So thoughts are incredibly seductive. They make us think they're completely true and vitally important. So teens, given their intense developmentally appropriate focus on the self, often believe the negative stream of self-critical thoughts in their heads. You can guide your teen through a helpful graphic for working through thoughts called Thoughts Are Not Facts, but it's more like just getting them to be aware of their thoughts and know that they're not real. So it's again getting them to, if thoughts come up for them, allow them to be and accept them and set them free. That's what, you know, if they're doing the yoga practices, sometimes emotions and thoughts come up for you. So especially if they're doing like something like yin, or they're doing hip openings and or back bending, and sometimes things can come up for them. So get them to know that their thoughts are not them. So when we're stressed, it puts the brain in a fearful state, and therefore we start to pay more attention to threats, which makes the stress even worse. So encourage them to notice that things are good or even okay just now. So challenge them to go through their day and notice 10 things that are beautiful, helpful, kind, or pleasant. I get my teens to do practice gratitude. Every now and again, I'll get them to do it for 1 week, to write down 5 things every night before they go to bed that they're grateful for. And I was doing this in lockdown. I did 10 things, and I found that during the day I was like, oh yeah, I could do that, I could put that down. I'm like looking for all the different things I could be grateful for to write down that night. So the more you're looking for that, the more it brings into your life, and it lightens you and brightens you. Okay, listening to music as well. Teens love music, so if we're not online, getting them to you when you're teaching with them, they love some music, they love tunes. So you can, if you look up, and is it Spotify or Apple Music, chilled Ibiza, that's what the teens love. They love a bit of chilled Ibiza. So it makes them feel, you can get them to, you say, right, let's like pretend we're on the beach, we're like in Ibiza doing all the chilled out stuff. Oh, they'll love it. They love to think that they're being a bit cool as well. So or getting them to, in Shavasana, listening to really chilled out lovely music, or even Tina Turner's mantra. And giving yourself a hug. Yeah, getting them to hug themselves, like Apanasana as well. Apanasana, give yourself a hug, pull your knees up and towards yourself. That's a wind release pose. It's also very good for their digestion as well. So I'm teaching them that no emotion lasts forever. Okay, they have this teen angst thing, that the feeling, I'll always be miserable. Ugh. So with mindfulness, we come to understand that no emotion lasts forever. So when you pay a close attention to it, an emotion is actually a constantly shifting combination of sensations and thoughts and feelings and memories. So no 2 seconds of your emotional experience are identical. So get teens to grasp their emotional experience. So anger spikes quickly, then fades slowly, while sadness is more of a gentle wave. So by getting them to track their emotions, so getting them that for a week, say, like if you're feeling really sad or really angry or really happy, get them to like write down or do it as a little, like how long it lasts for, and what, just so for them to be aware of what works and what doesn't work, and even, or you can do it like according to the moon, right? So how do you feel around the moon, and then the next month, how did you feel now? And get them to do learning about themselves is like a fun experiment. They love all that sort of stuff. So tech detox. I always get them to put their phones away before they practice, but I don't do it in like a teachery, naggy way. I'll just go, right, guys, we're going to put our phones away so you can concentrate, and you won't get pestered by all the boys, or you say something like that. It's just, or put your phones on silent so we can get on and do our yoga. So just do it in a friendly way, but set boundaries right at the beginning, or you'll get them like, I know that Julia at the Haven, when she teaches teens, she gets them all to put their phones in a box, and they take the box away. I don't know how my teens would feel about that. I think they would feel that's a bit too, you're kind of getting into trouble. It's like, I like them to know that I have their trust. Like, you just put your phone in silent, put it away. I trust that you're not going to be near it, and we'll be fine. So we're going to do, to end the day, hopefully I've got it looked out. If not, it's in my living room. We're going to do a mindful poem, and these ones are really lovely. And so these mindful poems are it's a good way for teens to discuss their emotions and their experiences. So the two mindful related poems that resonate the most with teens are, and I'm going to post them onto your site, onto your Facebook group. And in your manual, I've got the questions you can ask teens if you read it to them. But I'm going to read them to you just now. But the first one is The Guest House by Rumi. So we're going to read it together and think to yourselves, like, have you ever had emotions that felt like unwelcome visitors that trashed the place? Have you ever had difficult experiences that you ultimately learned something from? What things do you do to avoid feeling your emotions? What happens when you avoid them? And can you try to welcome even your unpleasant emotions? So this is the Rumi one. I love a Rumi poem, you know. And then this other one as well is a really good one for teens too. It really makes you think. It's called Autobiography in 5 Chapters by Portia Nelson. So the questions to ask, like, what holes do you often fall into? Why is it so easy to make the same mistakes over and over? What new streets do you think you could walk down? And what changes could you make that will help you take better care of yourself? So get yourself into a comfortable seated position, in a seated meditative position. I'm going to nip to the living room and get the poem to read to you. So connecting with your breath and becoming mindful. Okay, so get comfortable, close your eyes, connect with your breath, shoulders back and down, the crown of the head is lifting up to the heavens, tuck your chin in slightly, release Sarah's dog. Okay, so closing your eyes. The first one we're going to read is The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Okay, so that's The Guest House by Rumi. So we're now going to do the other poem, an autobiography in 5 chapters. So chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down a different street. Okay, so these are like these sort of poems. You can do something like that, get them to sit in meditation state, read them it, and ask them some of these questions. They love it. They love all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to put the recording off just now. Here we go.